Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad that you could be with us. Also, those joining us are our online friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Susan McClelland is joining us today to talk about an inspiring new book that is written for a younger audience, but I think is great for us all. It shares a true story that I think all of us would draw inspiration from. It's called BOY FROM BUCHENWARD, the true story of a Holocaust survivor. We'll talk to Susan not only about what it was like for her to be able to share this story, but also what she hopes you're able to take away from it. Susan, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Susan, I have to say, when I was reading this book and prepping for this segment, the thing I thought about was it really is, for one, a testament as to true human resilience, but I think also reminds us that no matter what our age, how we can be able to make a difference. What has it been like for you to have the gift of helping to share the story with the world?
I mean, Robbie, he's 90, is just absolutely lovely. And right from the very beginning, I was drawn to do the book because of that exact topic. You know, right now, young people, even adults, are grappling with their own mental health issues and whatnot. And I just found it astonishing that of those boys, the Buchenward boys that went to France, the rehabilitation and the process of recovery, where so many of them, of course, they were haunted by demons. I mean, Elie Wiesel, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, was one of those boys and talks about the demons that chased him his whole life. But by and large, these were boys. They'd lost their family. They faced starvation. They faced torture. They were young boys, and remember, they came from very closeted, very closed-off family communities. It wasn't like today where they knew, kids know what's happening in the rest of the world. I mean, these boys, their family and their religion was their lives, and how they were able to, translate their experiences to become humanitarians, family men, grandparents, to contribute so much. And so I was just really wanting to follow that process through one of the survivors, and there's not many left. So, yeah.
So how did you find out about it? 'Cause for those who are just now finding out about BOY FROM BUCHENWARD, again, as you mentioned, this is Robbie Waisman's story. How did you first hear about Robbie?
Well, through a friend. I have, very serendipitously, it wasn't something I set out to do, but as a magazine writer, I was approached to write a book about 11 years ago on a young survivor from Sierra Leone that ended up being a really successful book. And so my name is sort of known in circles, publishing circles, if I could say that, for writing memoirs, working with subjects that, may not be a public figure, that have a tremendous story of particularly trauma and overcoming trauma. And so it was through word of mouth that I was introduced to Robbie.
Yeah. It is a really, I mean, it's hard to read at times, Susan, I have to say. I bought the Kindle edition of the book so I could start on it early when it was released. Yeah. And I think the thing that got me was when Robbie in the book says, when he was asked why he was at the camp, and he says, because I was Jewish. Just to think of that. And to think that that was the reality, and he talked about those at Auschwitz actually having the tattoo, him just being forced to memorize his number and being kind of defined by that number. What was it like for you to hear that from him?
Astonishing. But, I am a journalist and a magazine journalist and have worked all over the world. And it's not that I become desensitized to that, but I translate that into a story, a message that we all need to hear and not forget. Because, we've had many genocides, and we continue to have hatred and world politics and abuse and polarization. And so as a writer, I have to translate that into words that readers will resonate with. And so I guess it's sort of like the art of what I do.
Yeah. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting was Robbie's conflict with faith, Susan.
Yes.
Psalm 91, which is one of his father's, is also one of my favorite scriptures. But I want to read, actually, what's in the book, because just talking about it would not do it justice. I'm not going to give the circumstances. I'll let our audience, when they read the book, they'll get that. But when Robbie is speaking to his father and speaking about his father, this is what is in the book. It was like he didn't see me, didn't know me, didn't want me. It was like he wasn't there anymore. An older man in the barracks moved toward me. He gently spoke to me, saying Papa was just unwell, that he would be fine in a few days. But he wasn't fine. He disappeared that very day, gone. I mean, it's so powerful. But I want to talk about faith and the renewal of faith. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you to kind of experience that with Robbie?
Well, it's not just Robbie. I mean, it's so many people that I've worked with too. And I mean, Robbie would talk about, again, another remember, and this is part of the story, I shouldn't say remember, but part of the story is these boys at Buchenwald that came from different countries, when the camp was liberated, they started to dislike each other. And so one of the differences was language. Not all of them knew Yiddish. There was blame, on some of the kids that came from, say, Hungary or Romania, saying, your country's got into the war too late. And one of the other differences that was, and this is in the book, that there was a cohort of the boys, and Elie Wiesel was one of them, that wanted to return to faith immediately. And then another group of the boys, and it was the same in the camp, and it's the same in genocides all over the world. What has God done for us? And Robbie was on that side going, what is religion? My religion saw death and destruction. So again, it was a polarization. Everyone is different. And for Robbie, it was just a real renewal of faith, but mostly it had to come with him realizing his family was dead. He didn't want to give up on the dream that one day he would run into his home and say, Mama, I'm home.
Yeah. It's such a powerful book and powerful read, and Robbie even says about you that he commends your magic, he wrote in the book, in breathing life into his story. And that's why I've called it a gift at the beginning. To be able to tell the story is so important. What is your hope for our audience? As I mentioned, this book is written with a younger audience in mind, but it is something all of us, I think, can really take to heart and be encouraged by. When people do finish the book, Susan, what is your hope?
Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to target a young adult audience, although adults, of course, will enjoy the story. I mean, there's some phenomenal aspects of it. Serendipitously meeting his cousins in France that he didn't even know existed, and wanting to be adopted by one of Europe's most wealthiest women. But Robbie does a lot of public speaking, and it was generally the young people that really resonated with his story. And I think what I hope people take away is the power of healing, and that at the core, no matter whatever we think our differences and perceived differences are, we still have those inherent drives for love, to be held, to feel alive, to feel our lives have meaning. Right. And Robbie's story really, for a younger audience and for an older audience, showcases that. How do we come back from some of the worst things that we've had to live through, that anyone's had to live through, and find meaning in life again?
It really is a great read. Again, everyone, Susan McClelland has been our guest. Boy from Buchenwald is the book. The True Story of a Holocaust Survivor is available now through our friends at Amazon.com, both in print as well as the Kindle edition. That's what I got, is the Kindle edition, but also through your favorite local bookstore. If they don't have it, I know they'd be glad to order it for you. Susan, last thing, how can our audience stay connected with you?
I have a website. It's just smcclelland.com, or through the Bloomsbury website. Just even Googling the name of the book, you would be able to find ways to contact both me and Robbie, and we'd love to answer any questions.
Well, please pass on my congratulations to Robbie as well as to you for already being an Amazon bestseller. It really is, I think, a book that is perfect for the times that we're living in, and we're so glad that you all could share this story with us.
Great. Thank you so much.
Hey, more than welcome. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.